at a recent event in our membership community, one of my fellow teachers in that community reflected around mindfulness practice as something that helps us to live an examined life. And I wanted to reflect on this a little bit, particularly in the context of mental health. This week is World Mental Health Week. And so wanting to reflect on what does it mean to live an examined life, and actually how does mindfulness interface with this? Because actually, my sense is we could use that phrase, leading an examined life, in lots of different ways. And actually, when I first hear that, I tend to think about how I behave, kind of examining what I'm doing, both in my everyday behavior and maybe in sort of longer term projects I might be engaging in. A longer term vision of my life, perhaps. But with mindfulness in particular, the examination is a little bit more internally oriented. Examining what is it we're experiencing, within our minds, our hearts. So actually getting to know that from the inside. And so there's a certain way of becoming familiar with mind and heart. And in such a way that we can develop a certain freedom, a sense of ease with all of the ups and downs that we experience. And of course, what's going on inside us is not separate from what's happening around us. What's happening around us impacts us internally, and also, by extension, as we become more aware of what's happening within us and develop an easier relationship with that, it directly impacts how we behave, how we act in the world, our relationships, and so on. And so this examination with mindfulness of our inner world is really something that can be very useful, both for a sense of well-being and if we're struggling with mental health. Which really is a spectrum, isn't it? There's such a wide spectrum. If we put a label on something like anxiety or depression, for example, so much of that is part of everyday experience for all of us. And then, of course, there are more pronounced experiences of anxiety, depression, and any other domain where we may struggle mentally. And so this exploration of what's happening inside us, really something that can serve a sense of well-being and good health, mentally, emotionally, psychologically. And really, particularly the way that we explore this in the Mindfulness Project, this is something that we do together. We look at this together, which is a kind of interesting thing to reflect on. We're talking about examining our own hearts and minds, but there's something about doing that with other people. So not that they're all examining our hearts and minds so much, but we can support each other in our own examination of our hearts and minds, in a kind of spirit of inquiry, that actually doing this together helps us to feel safe and supported, and also supports us in doing this in a way that is helpful, because so easily we could go into problem-solving mode. This examination could be fueled itself by anxiety or stress, trying to sort everything out, or a sense of not being good enough. But actually, by doing this together in a good way, this really supports, actually, this examination of our inner world in a way that's really fruitful and helpful. So if you're interested in this, you may already be engaged in this, of course, but if you're beginning with this, we have courses such as mindfulness-based stress reduction, mindfulness-based cognitive therapy, mindful self-compassion. Really great way of starting off in this exploration. And we also have a membership community if you've already begun. And want something to really support you in extending this and deepening this and enriching this in your life, then our community in good company is there for you as well. Okay. Take care.